In the blistering crucible of Arizona's frontier, where the sun chars the earth to ashen justice, is a bullet's fleeting promise. A story of redemption claws its way to life. Beneath a sky that knows no mercy, two Apache sisters, torn from their world by chains and cruelty, stand on the edge of salvation. A man, scarred by war and loss, will face a choice that could burn away his past or consume him entirely. This is a tale of courage kindled in the heart of despair, of family forged where none should exist, and of love rising defiant from the dust of human cruelty. Dust hung like a phantom shroud over the makeshift auction ground outside Tombstone, Arizona, on October 3rd, 1881, a date that would sear itself into my soul like a brand. My name is Marcus Coleman, though most folks call me Cole. At 42, I'm a rancher in Red Canyon, a man who's seen too much of this world's darkness to believe in its light. I fought in the Apache Wars, led men to their deaths, and watched my wife, Sarah, waste away to consumption 3 years ago. Since then, I've lived alone, wrestling ghosts that refuse to lie still. I hadn't planned to be in Tombstone that day. Business, an overdue cattle deal, kept me in town longer than I liked, and curiosity, that old devil, pulled me toward the commotion on the outskirts. The crowd's roar, the clatter of wagons, the restless snort of horses. It all promised something lively. But what I found when I pushed through the throng wasn't livestock or goods. It was people, chained and broken, sold like chattel under the noon sun. The auction ground was a chaos of dust and greed, a makeshift stage slapped together from warped planks and barrels. Men shouted bids, their voices coarse with want, while others milled about, inspecting the merchandise with cold, calculating eyes. The air stank of sweat, whiskey, and something fouler, human desperation. I edged closer, my boots crunching on the dry earth, and my stomach turned as I realized what was happening. This wasn't a cattle auction, as I'd first thought. It was a slave market, a vile trade in human lives, and it was happening right here in Tombstone, under the indifferent gaze of the law. At the center of it all stood Ezra Blackwood, the auctioneer, a man so slick with greed he seemed to ooze it. His suit was too fine for the frontier, his mustache waxed to a point, and his voice carried the oily charm of a snake oil peddler. "Ladies and gentlemen," he bellowed, his arms wide as if embracing the crowd's depravity. "We've got prime stock today, strong backs for ranch work, mining, or whatever your needs might be." The crowd, a rough mix of miners, ranchers, and drifters, responded with eager murmurs. Some stepped forward, prodding the captives, checking teeth and limbs like they were buying horses. My fists clenched at my sides, nails biting into my palms. I'd seen cruelty in war. Apache villages burned, families scattered. But this was different. This was a calculated, cold-blooded commerce in human souls, and it turned my blood to ice. The captives were mostly Apache men, women, and even children, their faces etched with exhaustion and defiance. They'd been taken in raids, skirmishes, or betrayals, their wrists bound by iron chains that clinked with every movement. Some stared blankly ahead, their spirits crushed. Others glared at the crowd, daring anyone to meet their eyes. I wanted to turn away, to pretend I hadn't seen this, but my feet wouldn't move. I'd fought against the Apache, killed their warriors in battles that still haunted my dreams, but I'd never seen them reduced to this. Paraded like livestock, their humanity stripped away by men who saw only profit. Sheriff Stone was there, leaning against a wagon, his badge glinting in the sun. He wasn't here to stop the auction. He was bidding, his eyes scanning the line of captives, with the same predatory hunger as the rest. The law in Tombstone was as corrupt as the desert was dry, and Stone's presence only confirmed it. I should have walked away then, gone back to my ranch, and let the world's ugliness pass me by. But something held me rooted. Some nagging sense that I was meant to be here, that this moment would change everything. Then I saw them. 2 young Apache women standing near the end of the line, their presence like a spark in the haze. They were clearly sisters, sharing the same high cheekbones, the same fierce posture, despite the chains that bound them. The older one, maybe 26, stood like a shield in front of the younger, who couldn't have been more than 19. Their dark hair was tangled, their clothes torn, but their eyes told a different story. The older sister's gaze burned with a fury that seemed to dare the world to break her. The younger ones held a quiet dignity, a strength that no amount of degradation could touch. They weren't just surviving this horror, they were defying it, and that defiance hit me like a physical blow. Blackwood swaggered toward them, his grin widening as he sensed the crowd's interest. "Now here's something special," he crowed, his voice dripping with false enthusiasm. 2 Apache sisters, strong and young, perfect for ranch work or household duties. The crowd's lewd chuckles made my skin crawl. The older one's got some fire in her. Blackwood continued, keeping a safe distance from the elder sister's reach. "Might need breaking in, but she'll be worth the effort." The younger one's more docile, ideal for lighter tasks. He spoke of them as if they were animals, his casual cruelty twisting the knife in my gut. Bidding starts at 50 for the pair. Hands shot up like vultures taking flight. 60, called a wiry miner. 75, shouted another, his voice thick with whiskey. 100. The bids climbed fast, each one a fresh wound. I recognized some of the men. Jake Morrison, a mine owner whose workers died faster than his profits grew, and Tom Crawford, whose reputation for abusing women was whispered across the territory. These weren't men looking for laborers. Their intentions were darker, written in the hungry glint of their eyes. The older sister turned her head, and her gaze locked onto mine across the crowd. For a moment, the world fell silent. Her eyes weren't pleading. They were too proud for that. They were a challenge, a question. "Are you one of them? Or will you do something?" The bidding surged to 150, then 200, Morrison and Crawford trading barbs as they drove the price higher. The younger sister trembled slightly, though her chin stayed high. The older one's jaw was set, her defiance a beacon in the chaos. 250, Crawford bellowed, and the crowd hushed. It was a staggering sum, more than most in Tombstone saw in half a year. Blackwood's eyes gleamed with greed. "Going once, going twice. 300! The words tore from my throat before I could stop them. Every head turned, the crowd's murmurs rising like a swarm of locusts. Blackwood's grin widened, while Crawford's face twisted with rage. "Well," Blackwood crowed, "Coleman enters the fray!" 300 from the gentleman in the back. Crawford spat in the dirt and countered, 325. Without thinking, I shot back, 350. The crowd buzzed, thrilled by the spectacle. I didn't look at them. My eyes stayed on the sisters, on the older one's unreadable stare, searching for my intentions. 400. Crawford snarled, his voice shaking with fury. The crowd gasped, feeding on the tension. I glanced at the sisters again. The younger one's hands were clenched, her bravery faltering but unbroken. The older one's eyes still held mine, weighing me, judging me. I thought of my sister, dead too young, of the Apache warriors I'd fought, of Sarah's empty chair at my table. I thought of the fundamental wrongness of this moment, of human beings sold like cattle. 500, I said, my voice clear and steady. The crowd fell silent, stunned. It was an obscene amount, a year's earnings for most. Crawford's face purpled, but he didn't counter. His greed had limits, mine, it seemed, did not. Going once, going twice, sold. Blackwood's gavel slammed down, the sound like a gunshot. The Apache sisters go to Mr. Coleman for $500. The crowd erupted in whispers, their speculation a low hum. What's Cole want with them? Still mourning his wife, ain't he? Man's got strange tastes. I ignored them, pushing through to Blackwood, who was practically dancing with glee. Excellent choice, Mr. Coleman, he said, rubbing his hands. They'll serve you well, I'm sure. I handed over the money, every cent I'd carried for the cattle deal, without a word. The weight of it hit me as I turned to the sisters. I'd just bought 2 human beings. The fact that I'd done it to save them from worse didn't make it less vile. Their chains had been unlocked from the main line, but their wrists remained bound. The older sister's eyes were wary, the younger one's cautious but curious. What are your names? I asked, dredging up what little Apache I remembered from my cavalry days. The older sister's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't answer. I tried again in English. I'm Kaya Nightwind, she said finally, her voice steady despite the iron on her wrists. This is my sister, Ayana, I nodded. Kaya Ayana, we've got a long ride ahead. I gestured to my wagon, ignoring the crowd stares and Sheriff Stone's approach. Coleman, Stone said, smirking. Hope you know what you're doing. Apache women can be unpredictable. I met his gaze. I can handle myself. Sheriff. He leaned closer, his voice low. They're your property now. Any trouble they cause, it's on you. The word property made my skin crawl, but I nodded and climbed onto the wagon seat. As we rolled out of Tombstone, I caught Kaya's reflection in the side mirror, whispering urgently to Ayana in Apache. They were scared, and who could blame them? To them, I was just another white man with a price tag on their lives. The ride to Red Canyon was silent, save for the creak of the wagon and the thud of hooves. An hour in, Ayana's soft voice broke the quiet. Where are you taking us? I glanced back at the sisters, their faces etched with uncertainty. Home, I said simply. I'm taking you home. Confusion flickered in their eyes, but beneath it a faint glimmer of hope. They didn't understand yet, but they would. Red Canyon Ranch sprawled across 2,000 acres, its red cliffs glowing in the dusk. The house, built with Sarah for a family we'd never have, felt like a tomb. Until now. Rosa Martinez, my housekeeper of 10 years, stepped out as we arrived, her eyes wide at the sight of the sisters. Dios mío, say or Cole, what have you done? She whispered, crossing herself. Something I should have done a long time ago, I replied, helping Kaya and Ayana down. Kaya hesitated, then took my hand, her grip strong and warm. Ayana followed, more trusting. They stood in my yard, still bound, uncertain. Rosa, prepare the guest rooms and find them proper clothes, I said. Her eyebrows shot up. Guests, that's right, I said, turning to the sisters. You're not my property. You're free to leave, but if you stay, you're part of this household, with all the respect that comes with it. I pulled a knife from my pocket, and both women tensed. But I cut their ropes, letting the chains fall. You're free, I repeated. Kaya rubbed her wrists, her expression unreadable. Why? She asked. Why buy us if not to use us? The question hit hard, but I met her gaze. Because sometimes the right thing is the hardest thing to do. As they followed Rosa inside, I stood alone in the yard, the weight of my choice settling over me. I'd spent a fortune, invited suspicion, and brought two Apache women into a territory that despised them. But as I looked at the red cliffs under the moonlight, I felt something stir, a purpose I hadn't known since Sarah's death. The road ahead would be treacherous, but for the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving. I was fighting for something real. In the shadow of Arizona's red cliffs, where trust is as scarce as rain and the past claws at every step, a fragile hope begins to take root. Two Apache sisters, bound by blood and betrayal, stand on the edge of a new life, their wary eyes fixed on a man who claims to offer freedom. But in a land where promises are often lies, can a rancher's act of defiance become a beacon of salvation? At Red Canyon Ranch, I, Marcus Coleman, Cole to those who know me, had just done the unthinkable. Spent $500 to save Kaya and Ayana Nightwind from a slave auction in Tombstone. I'd cut their chains, declared them free, but their guarded stares told me freedom was a word they didn't yet believe. My housekeeper, Rosa, saw it too. Her whispered, "Dios mío," echoing the weight of what I'd brought into our world on that October evening in 1881. The first night was heavy with silence. Kaya and Ayana settled into the guest rooms, their footsteps cautious, like deer sensing a trap. Rosa, a widow whose warmth had kept my empty house from crumbling entirely, bustled about, finding them dresses, simple cotton ones Sarah had left behind. I stood in my study, staring at the red cliffs glowing under the moon, the 500 hole in my pocket burning as fiercely as my doubts. I'd fought Apache warriors, lost my wife to disease, and lived 3 years as a ghost in my own home. Buying 2 women to save them from worse fates didn't erase the ugliness of the act. To Kaya, I was a white man with a cavalry past, another potential threat in a world that had offered her nothing but pain. Morning brought a fragile routine. Rosa coaxed Ayana, the younger sister, into the kitchen, teaching her to knead dough while humming Spanish lullabies. Ayana, barely 19, moved with a quiet grace, her dark eyes darting to every sound. She spoke little, her English halting, but Rosa's maternal presence seemed to ease her. Kaya, 26 and sharp as a blade, stayed distant. She watched me from doorways, her high cheekbones and fierce gaze a constant reminder of her defiance at the auction. I caught her studying the ranch. Its fences, its exits, as if planning an escape. I couldn't blame her. Trust was a luxury neither sister could afford, not after what they'd endured. I kept busy with the ranch, mending fences and tending horses, giving them space. Red Canyon's 2,000 acres were a haven I'd built with Sarah, dreaming of a family that never came. Now, the house felt alive again, but strained, like a song played out of tune. Kaya ventured outside on the second day, her borrowed dress too loose, but her posture unyielding. She approached the stables, where I was brushing down a mare. "You speak some Apache," she said without preamble, her voice steady but edged. "A little," I replied, keeping my focus on the horse. "Learned it in the cavalry." Her eyes narrowed. "You fought my people." It wasn't a question. "Yes," I admitted, meeting her gaze. "How many did you kill?" The bluntness caught me off guard, but she deserved truth. "I don't know. It was war. Men died on both sides." Her silence was a judgment, and I added, "I never killed women or children." "Never." She studied me, searching for a lie. "Why should I believe you?" "Because if I meant you harm, I wouldn't have cut your ropes." Her lips twitched, not quite a smile. Maybe you prefer your victims willing. The accusation stung, but I kept my voice calm. Or maybe I'm trying to do the right thing. She laughed, bitter and sharp. White men are good at pretty words. I nodded, letting her have that truth. Fair enough. I'll prove it with actions. She didn't respond, but she lingered, watching me work, her presence a challenge I wasn't sure I could meet. Rosa pulled me aside that evening, her face troubled. See or Cole, those girls have been through hell. Ayana barely speaks, and Kaya, she's like a cornered wolf. She trusts no one, especially not you. Can't blame her. I said, my chest tight. What can I do? Time, patience, and prayer. Rosa replied, crossing herself. Lots of prayer. I nodded, but the weight of their fear pressed harder. They saw me as a threat, a man who'd bought them like cattle, no matter my intentions. I'd fought their people, burned their homes in the war. How could I convince them I was different when I wasn't sure myself? The first test came on the 4th day. Sheriff Stone rode up with 2 deputies, their horses kicking up dust in my yard. Kaya and Ayana watched from an upstairs window, their silhouettes tense. Coleman, Stone called, his smirk as oily as Blackwood's. We need to talk. I stepped onto the porch, my rifle nearby, but not in hand. What's this about, Sheriff? Got reports your new acquisitions tried stealing chickens from a neighbor's coop. It was a lie, and we both knew it. My nearest neighbor was 5 miles away, and the sisters hadn't left the ranch. That's interesting, I said, keeping my voice even. They haven't been off my land. Stone's eyes narrowed. You calling me a liar? I'm saying your information's wrong. He leaned forward, his voice low. I need to search your property, make sure those savages are under control. Got a warrant? I asked. Don't need one for runaway property. The word property made my blood boil. They're not runaways. They're my guests. Stone laughed, a harsh bark. Guests. That's what we're calling it. Before I could answer, Kaya appeared beside me, silent as a shadow. Is there a problem? She asked, her English clear and precise. Stone sneered, eyeing her with distaste. Well, the savage speaks English. How civilized. Kaya didn't flinch. I speak 3 languages, English, Spanish, Apache. How many do you speak, Sheriff? His face reddened. Watch your tongue, squaw, or you'll be back on the auction block. That's enough, I said, stepping forward. State your business or get off my land. Stone's hand twitched toward his gun. I'm here to keep the peace. Apache have been raiding ranches, stealing cattle, killing folk. How do I know these 2 aren't scouting for their warriors? Because they've been here since Tuesday, under my supervision. I shot back. Unless you're accusing me of aiding raiders. The air crackled with tension. Stone wasn't stupid enough to push that far, not without evidence. Keep them on a tight leash, Coleman. He growled. Any trouble, and it's on you. He rode off, his deputies trailing like vultures. Kaya and I stood in silence, the dust settling around us. Thank you, she said finally, her voice softer. For what? For not handing us over. It would have been easier. I don't do things because they're easy, I said. She looked at me, something like respect flickering in her eyes. Why did you buy us, Cole? Don't say it was just the right thing. Men don't spend 500 on strangers for righteousness. I hesitated, searching for the truth. 3 years ago, I lost my wife, my child, my purpose. I've been a dead man walking. When I saw you and Ayana standing proud despite everything, I saw hope. Something worth saving. She didn't reply, but the next day, she joined me in the stables, her hands deft with the horses. Where are you from? I asked, brushing down a mare. Chiricahua Mountains, she said. Our band lived there for generations, before men like you decided we didn't belong. The words cut, but I nodded. I'm sorry for that. She watched me, her gaze less hostile but still sharp. Ayana, meanwhile, grew bolder, helping Rosa in the kitchen, her soft voice humming Apache songs. Rosa told me Ayana had spoken of their capture. Brutal men, nights of fear, Kaya shielding her sister at every turn. The weight of their pain settled heavier on me. A week later, trouble returned. Ezra Blackwood rode into my yard at dawn, 3 armed men at his side, their eyes cold as steel. Rosa ran to me, pale with fear. Seor Cole? The slave traders here with gunmen. I grabbed my rifle and ordered Kaya and Ayana to stay inside. Blackwood grinned like a snake. Coleman, hope you don't mind the early visit. Got a complaint about your purchase. What complaint? I asked, my grip tight on the rifle. Those Apache girls belong to someone else. Jake Morrison, a bounty hunter. They were military prisoners who escaped. I sold them by mistake. It was a lie, a flimsy pretext to reclaim them for profit. Morrison, a hulking man with cruel eyes, stepped forward. They cost me time and money. I want them back, plus 100,000 compensation. Kaya appeared on the porch, ignoring my order. You're lying, she said, her voice like a blade. We were never prisoners. Morrison's face twisted with lust and anger. Shut your mouth, squaw, or I'll shut it for you. She reached for the knife I'd given her, and the air grew thick with danger. Here's my offer, I said. 10 seconds to leave, or I start shooting. Blackwood laughed. You're outnumbered, Coleman. I raised my rifle. 5 seconds. The standoff broke with the sound of hooves. Doc Franklin, the town physician, rode in with 2 federal marshals. Gentlemen, Doc called, I'm not interrupting. Blackwood's grin faltered. The marshals arrested him for trafficking, their authority trumping Stone's corruption. Rosa had sent her nephew to Tucson for help, saving us all. That evening, Kaya found me on the porch. Thank you, she said, sitting beside me, for risking your life. Anyone would have, I said. No, she replied firmly. They wouldn't. We sat under the stars, a fragile trust forming. 3 months later, a telegram arrived, shaking our world. Kaya and Ayana held it, tears streaming. It was from a Washington lawyer. Their family's land claim, filed decades ago, had been honored, 35,000 in compensation. They were rich, free to leave, to build a new life anywhere. My heart sank, but Kaya's voice stopped me. I choose to stay with the man I love. Ayana smiled, calling me brother. They proposed using the money to expand the ranch, a sanctuary for displaced Apache. In that moment, I knew we were building something greater, a family, a purpose, a bridge across a divided land. Beneath the crimson cliffs of Arizona, where the ghosts of war whisper in the wind, and hope is a flame that flickers against the dark, a new dawn breaks. 2 Apache sisters, once chained by cruelty, now stand as pillars of a dream that defies a divided world. A rancher, haunted by loss, finds his heart beating again, bound to a family he never expected. This is the story of a home reborn, of love that conquers hate, and of a legacy built on the courage to choose compassion over fear. At Red Canyon Ranch in the spring of 1882, I, Marcus Coleman, Cole to those who know me, stood on the cusp of a life I'd never dared imagine. With Kaya and Ayana Nightwind by my side, their 35,000 land settlement a spark that could light a future or burn us all. 6 months had passed since I'd bid 500 to save the sisters from a tombstone auction, a reckless act that set us on this path. Kaya, 26, fierce and unyielding, had declared her love, choosing to stay despite a fortune that could take her anywhere. Ayana, 19, called me brother, her gentle strength filling the house with song. Their vision, to expand the ranch into a haven for displaced Apache, had taken root, but it was a dangerous dream in a territory where hatred ran deep. As winter gave way to spring, the ranch bloomed with life. Ayana's Apache cooking filled the air with spices I'd never known, her laughter a melody that chased away the silence left by my late wife Sarah. Kaya, with her warrior's instinct, worked the cattle and horses with a skill that left me in awe. The walls around her heart were crumbling, though her eyes still scanned for threats, a habit forged by betrayal. On a crisp March morning, everything changed. Rosa, my housekeeper, came running from the house, her face alight with excitement. "Segor, Cole, come quickly! There's news." I found Kaya and Ayana in the kitchen, clutching a telegram, tears streaming down their faces. My heart stopped, fearing the worst, but Kaya's smile dispelled my dread. "Nothing's wrong," she said, wiping her eyes. "Everything's right." Ayana handed me the paper, her hands trembling. The words were staggering. A Washington lawyer confirmed their family's land claim, filed by their grandfather 20 years ago, had been recognized. The government, in a rare act of justice, awarded them 35,000 for stolen Apache lands. I read it twice. A fortune sinking in. "You're rich," I said, my voice catching. "You can go anywhere, do anything." The thought hit me like a bullet. They could leave, buy a ranch, a mansion in San Francisco, travel to Europe. They could walk away from Red Canyon, from me. Over these months, Kaya and Ayana had become my family, filling the void Sarah's death had left. The idea of losing them felt like another grave opening. I forced a smile. "This is wonderful. You can start fresh wherever you want." Kaya's gaze sharpened, reading me like an open book. "What makes you think we want to go anywhere?" she asked. "With that money, you could have anything," I said. "A big house, a new life." Ayana's soft voice cut in. "And leave our home." "Leave you?" I blinked, stunned. "This isn't really your home. You ended up here by accident." Kaya stood, her voice firm. "No. We ended up here because someone cared enough to save us when no one else would. Because someone offered us love when the world showed only cruelty." Her words hung in the air, heavy with truth. "You're right," she continued, stepping closer. "We have choices now, and I choose to stay with the man I love." My breath caught. "Kaya," she didn't let me finish. "I love you, Cole. I've tried to deny it, thinking it was gratitude or dependence, but it's not. I love your kindness, your strength, the way you treat Ayana like she's precious. I love the man you've become." Ayana's eyes shimmered with tears, a smile breaking through. "And I love having a big brother who makes us feel safe. Why would we leave that?" My own eyes stung, emotion I hadn't felt in years welling up. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Because once we build this life together, I don't think I could survive losing you." Kaya's hand found mine. "Then don't lose us. Marry me, Cole. Make this family official." The words were a thunderclap, a dream I'd never dared voice. Marry her. A woman whose people I'd fought, whose life I'd bought like cattle. Even with everything I've done? I asked, my voice rough. "Especially because of it," she said. Your pain made you understand ours. Your past made you the man who saved us. Ayana's mischievous smile broke the tension. We have a better idea than just staying. I raised an eyebrow. What's that? We use the money to expand the ranch, Kaya said, her eyes blazing with purpose. More land. A bigger house. A place for Apache people with nowhere else to go. A working ranch that gives jobs, homes, a bridge between our worlds. The vision was breathtaking, ambitious, dangerous. A lot of people won't like that, I warned. Ayana's voice was steady. Then we'll change their minds, one person at a time, like you changed ours. The next months were a whirlwind. We bought 1,000 more acres, the settlement money stretching further than I'd imagined. Kaya and Ayana worked with a fire I'd never seen, planning barns, hiring Apache families who drifted to reservations or hid in the hills. The ranch buzzed with new voices, children laughing, men repairing fences, women tending gardens. Rosa, ever the heart of the house, embraced the chaos, teaching Apache women Spanish recipes while learning their ways. But the world outside our valley wasn't kind. Neighbors whispered, some with curiosity, others with scorn. Sheriff Stone rode by often, his eyes promising trouble. I kept my rifle close, knowing the real fight was coming. On an October morning, 7 months after the auction, Kaya and I stood under the red cliffs to marry. Chief Joseph Nightwind, the sister's uncle, arrived alone. His dignified presence a quiet strength. He'd heard of my actions, of the haven we were building, and offered an Apache ceremony to bind us. Doc Franklin, the town physician who'd helped save the sisters from Blackwood's schemes, handled the legal vows. Our guests were few but fierce. Rosa and her family, a handful of ranchers who'd warmed to our cause, and Apache workers who'd found a home here. Kaya walked toward me in a white dress Rosa had sewn, Ayana at her side as maid of honor, her smile radiant. I marveled at the transformation, from a bitter, lonely man to one surrounded by love and purpose. Do you take this woman to be your wife? Doc asked, his voice warm. I do, I said, lost in Kaya's dark eyes. And do you take this man to be your husband, to love and honor in the traditions of both your peoples? Kaya's voice was clear. I do. As we kissed, the cheers of our guests, Apache and white alike, filled the valley. Ayana squeezed my arm, her touch grounding me. This was family, not born but chosen, forged in defiance of a cruel world. Chief Nightwind pulled me aside that evening, the stars blazing above. You've given my nieces something precious, he said. Not just safety, but the chance to heal and grow. They've given you the same. I nodded, my throat tight. The road ahead won't be easy, he warned. There will be those who oppose what you're building. I know, I said. But we'll face it together. He smiled. Together. That is the Apache way, and it is becoming yours. The celebration stretched into the night, laughter and music mingling with the scent of roasted meat and sage. Kaya and I danced under the stars, her hand warm in mine, while Ayana sang an Apache song of renewal. The ranch was no longer just a place. It was a mission, a testament to what compassion could build. We'd started with a single act, a 500 bid to save 2 souls, but it had grown into something greater. A sanctuary where Apache families could work and live free from fear, where 2 worlds could meet, not in conflict but in hope. Challenges loomed. Stone's deputies circled like wolves, and whispers of raids reached us. Men like Morrison, still free, who'd see our ranch burned before letting it stand. But as I stood with Kaya and Ayana, looking out at the land we'd built together, I felt no fear. We'd faced worse and won. The telegram's fortune had bought more than land. It had bought a future. Kaya's vision, to create a bridge between peoples, was taking shape in every fence post, every new home. Ayana's gentle strength, her songs, wove us closer. A family not just of blood, but of shared dreams. A year ago, I'd been a man waiting to die, my heart buried with Sarah. Now, I was alive, bound to a wife whose courage matched the cliffs around us, and a sister whose trust had healed wounds I'd thought permanent. The ranch was more than a place. It was a promise, a proof that love could triumph over hatred, that broken things could mend. As the firelight danced on Kaya's face, I knew this was the life worth fighting for, worth protecting. It wasn't the life I'd planned when I rode into Tombstone that fateful day. It was better, a home, a family, a legacy that would outlast us all, born from 3 simple words. I'm taking you home. Thank you for joining us on this heart-wrenching journey through the Arizona frontier, where Cole, Kaya, and Ayana found redemption and family against all odds. If their story of courage, love, and healing moved you, please hit that I like button to show your support. It means the world to us. Share in the comments how this tale touched your heart, or if you've ever taken a bold step to help someone in need. Your stories inspire us all. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to stay part of our global community for more powerful tales of compassion and triumph. Let's keep building this family together. Tell us, what did Cole's transformation mean to you?